For the past 5 years, my wife and I have been using some form of Spanish instruction to homeschool our kids another language. We've been using products from the ubiquitous Rosetta Stone to numerous apps like Duolingo and Drops to online Spanish instruction with live tutors. And after 5 years and quite a few bad methods, I think we finally figured out the perfect way to homeschool a foreign language. So stick around because that's what this video is all about. First, we're going to talk about Rosetta Stone and specifically why it really didn't work to homeschool our kids another language. Rosetta Stone was our first method of Spanish language instruction when my daughter turned 8 years old. We started at 8 years old with my daughter because of the whole the younger you are, the easier it is to learn a language kind of thing. However, we quickly learned with Rosetta Stone you have to be able to read, write, and type. And at 8 years old, that's a tough ask for a lot of kids. Additionally, with Rosetta Stone, the audio feedback that they have to make sure you're learning and pronunciating your words correctly, I don't think is as accurate as it needs to be.
Doble a la derecha.
Modle a la derecha.
Doble a la derecha.
Reading, writing, and typing isn't that big of a deal for most people, but if you have a young learner, it can be a little bit of a stretch. If your child is learning to read and write in English, then they likely can bring some of that knowledge over to the Spanish language education, which a lot of people do in dual language households. However, if they're not familiar with that, it can be a little bit of a stretch to bring those concepts over to Spanish. And the same thing applies to typing. If your kid doesn't know how to type or if they're just beginning to learn, it can be a little bit frustrating and they lose focus on what they've been trying to input in Spanish. It sounds like I'm bashing Rosetta Stone, which I am not. You don't become a market leader in language education with a bad product. These are just some examples of why it didn't really work for us in the setting of a young learner, and I suspect you might have some similar issues as well. Now let's talk about what does work for us and why. And to do that, I'm going to introduce you to the Homeschool Spanish Academy. Homeschool Spanish Academy is an online Spanish education language academy. We have been using this product for several years now, and you can see my daughter has already taken 134 classes, and we really have no intention of stopping anytime soon. Before my wife found Homeschool Spanish Academy, we had used another similar online program called italki, which is also one-on-one instruction. However, it may have just been our experience, but the instructors with italki didn't seem terribly interested in speaking with somebody my daughter's age at the time. Again, we may have just had some bad luck, but we moved on pretty quickly from italki. The Homeschool Spanish Academy has certified instructors and offered tailored classes for elementary students all the way to high school. One of the benefits of having a lot of certified instructors is if your child happens to find one that he or she truly connects with, they can continue to schedule one-on-one classes with that person for as long as they want to. Another great thing about HSA is the convenience. You can schedule all of your classes around your homeschooling curriculum. Let's say you have different kids of different age groups. One has to go to a co-op, another one has to go to sports. You can do HSA pretty much anywhere you have a wireless internet. This is an example of where one of my kids had to go to swim practice not too long ago. At the same time, we scheduled an HSA class because there was a Starbucks next door, it had Wi-Fi, and everything was fine. I'm going to talk about two more standout features that make HSA a slam dunk for all homeschooling families. But first, let's talk about the costs. We all know nothing in life is free, and this of course isn't either. I will have more information about the costs in the description to the video, and I will also leave a link to the website where you can go if you're more interested. Clearly, one-on-one tutoring 5 days a week isn't really financially possible for a lot of families. That's where you have to have some additional educational supplementation, and these are some of the things that we do as well. There are a lot of language apps in the App Store, everything to memorize, to Duolingo, to Drops. We use Drops a lot because it is pure vocabulary. Your child can do a one-on-one tutoring session once or twice a week, and in their off time they can use the Drops app to continue to expand their vocabulary. Another thing we do a lot is to have our kids watch their favorite movies in Spanish. One of the nice things about having everything streamable is they usually come with a lot of different audio language options. If your kids are anything like ours, then they've seen their favorite movies or TV shows hundreds of times and they can recite everything while they're sleeping. The beauty of this is they can now watch them again, but also in Spanish, and because they know what they're going to say, they can also now hear the Spanish on top of that, and it really helps them grow the language because they can hear how they're talking, and this is a method that I believe really helps supplement the language education that Homeschool Spanish Academy provides. And speaking again of the Homeschool Spanish Academy, let's talk about two more things that I really think give them an edge over the competition. They are accredited, and your child, while participating in these classes, can receive high school credits to apply to college. And unlike Rosetta Stone, who in their educational process use more of a language immersion model, HSA uses an actual curriculum that stresses the importance of language, grammar, parts of speech, everything. With that curriculum, my daughter has learned more about the parts of speech, nouns, verbs than we ever taught her in English. Up until this point, of course, we're going to get there. But the beauty of it is the crossover in the education can be really beneficial if you don't find teaching English that enjoyable. I don't have video of this because it would involve me recording other people, but after doing HSA for several years, Watching movies in Spanish, doing the apps, my daughter is now very comfortable walking into places where there are a lot of native Spanish speakers, specifically restaurants, ordering her food and then conversing in Spanish with people she doesn't know. I can't tell you how often a native Spanish speaker's eyes will get real big when they see somebody young trying to learn their language. They always take a lot of time to talk with my daughter, teach her a handful of things that she didn't know, and it's always a great experience. Teaching another language in the homeschooling setting can be incredibly difficult. Rosetta Stone didn't really work for us. Homeschool Spanish Academy clearly does. I definitely recommend giving them a try. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you next week.